The United States officially owes more than $38 trillion. That number is almost impossible to imagine. But here is the shocking part. The U.S. is not panicking. It is not collapsing, and it is not paying this debt the way you might think. In fact, America may be quietly erasing its debt without ever writing a check. So how is this possible, and what does it mean for the rest of the world? In this video, we will uncover the hidden strategies, the secret systems, and the shocking truths about how the U.S. manages its $38 trillion debt. America's national debt did not appear overnight. It grew slowly, then suddenly, and now exponentially. Wars, financial bailouts, pandemics, social programs, tax cuts. Each crisis added another layer of debt. Today, the U.S. borrows billions of dollars every single day just to function. If this were a normal country, it would already be bankrupt. But the United States is not a normal country. Its secret lies in the U.S. dollar, the global reserve currency. This gives America the ability to borrow, spend, and manage debt in ways no other nation can. Here's what most people don't understand. The United States controls the world's reserve currency, the U.S. dollar. More than 80% of global trade is settled in dollars. Oil is priced in dollars. Debt is measured in dollars, and central banks store dollars. This gives America an unparalleled power, the ability to print currency that the entire world needs. This is why, even with $38 trillion in debt, the U.S. does not collapse like other countries would. When the United States prints more money, something strange happens. Prices go up. This is called inflation. But inflation does more than just increase prices. It quietly reduces the real value of debt. For example, $1 trillion borrowed 20 years ago is much less today because of inflation. Debt is not erased, it is diluted. Inflation is a hidden tax, and debt loves it. Many people think foreign countries hold America's debt. In reality, a huge portion is owed to itself. Federal agencies, trust funds, and the Federal Reserve. Interest payments often return to the government. It's a circular system. This means the U.S. owes money to itself and uses it strategically. Debt is not just a number on paper. It is a system the government controls. Foreign nations like China and Japan own part of the debt, but they cannot force America to default. One of the most powerful tools America has is the Federal Reserve. The Fed buys government debt using newly created money, a process called monetization. In simple terms, the government borrows money and the Fed creates that money out of thin air. This allows the U.S. to pay interest and manage debt without raising taxes or cutting programs. No other country has the ability to do this at such a large scale. Through this system, the U.S. essentially keeps the debt under control, and most citizens never realize how it works. This is why $38 trillion in debt does not feel like a burden for America, not yet. People often worry, what if China or another country dumps U.S. debt? It sounds dangerous, but the system is designed to absorb such shocks. If China sells a large amount of treasury bonds, the dollar may weaken temporarily, but investors from around the world rush to buy U.S. debt because it is considered the safest asset globally. The Federal Reserve can step in to stabilize markets, ensuring that the system continues to function. In short, foreign nations hold power over parts of the debt, but they cannot force America to default. The United States is not trying to pay off $38 trillion of debt. Instead, it focuses on managing it. The strategy relies on three pillars: GDP growth, controlled inflation, and the dominance of the U.S. dollar. As long as the economy grows faster than debt and the dollar remains the preferred currency for global trade, the debt becomes background noise. The government can continue spending on programs, infrastructure, and defense, while debt grows on paper but remains manageable in reality. This is why $38 trillion of debt does not automatically mean financial collapse. No system lasts forever. If confidence in the dollar were to break, everything changes. Markets could crash, inflation could spiral, and global chaos could ensue. That is why the U.S. government carefully balances spending, monetary policy, and economic growth. Even small mistakes could erode trust in the dollar and destabilize the system, but so far, the strategy has worked. $38 trillion in debt does not make headlines as a crisis because the debt is managed cleverly behind the scenes. A critical component of U.S. debt management is circular debt. Much of the debt is owed to federal agencies like Social Security trust funds and Medicare. When interest payments are made, the money often flows back into government coffers. In other words, the debt is partly owed to itself. This system creates a stable loop where interest payments do not become an external burden. Combined with the Federal Reserve's tools, the government has multiple layers of control that allow it to quietly manage and reduce the real debt over time. America's debt management doesn't just affect its citizens. The dollar's dominance influences global trade, currency markets, and foreign debt policies. Countries worldwide rely on stable U.S. debt instruments for investment and reserves. Any major instability in the U.S. financial system would ripple across the globe, impacting markets, currencies, and economies everywhere. This interconnected system makes America's ability to quietly manage debt even more crucial. So, is the United States erasing $38 trillion of debt? Not openly, not directly, but strategically, through inflation, through monetary power, through global dominance, and clever internal mechanisms. The true lesson is that debt is not always what it seems. It can be managed, controlled, and even quietly reduced. The United States has built a system that allows $38 trillion in debt to exist without causing collapse. The true question is how long this system can maintain stability and what it means for the rest of the world. One thing is certain, the story of U.S. debt is far more complex and fascinating than most people realize.